What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is gonna be your review for Pose, season 2, episode 1. So this season, it looks like we're gonna get a lot more into AIDS activism around AIDS. We see some characters and some things going on already, and then of course they are picking up in 1990 with the explosion of Madonna's Vogue song. And it's funny, I remember when Vogue came out, and I remember her telling the story of her backup dance, her seeing her backup dancers doing all this Vogue, and then she was like, "Well, what are y'all doing?" And they explained, about their community and ballroom and everything, and then she turned it into a song. And you know, being a kid, I never really thought about the impact that Vogue had on. Well, I didn't even know about ballroom at the time, so you know what I mean. But we're seeing how that song is affecting the community, good or bad. So that's kind of where this season is going. So we start the episode off was very sad. We see Pray Tell and Blanca going to Heart Island, which is where Potter's Field is. And for those people who don't know what Potter's Field is where unclaimed bodies are go to be buried. And basically, it's not a cemetery. It's just like you saw on the show, pine boxes with numbers on it, and that's how you identify. When somebody passes away, you have a certain amount of time to claim the body. And if the family can't afford to claim the body, or the person they can't find the person's family, then that is where you end up. Um, and so Pray Tell, this was an ex boyfriend of Pray Tell's who ended up in Potter's Field. And the conversation that they have while they're going over there is basically how many funerals they're going to, and how all these people, AIDS has just become the epidemic that we knew it was in the 80s and 90s. And even when they get to Potter's Field and Pray Tell is trying to find his friend, and the lady was like, "Oh, well, infants are here, and people with AIDS are over there because we don't want them to infect the rest of the bodies." And Blanca was like, "They're dead." You know what I mean? Like, even it was just like, even the ignorance. So you're gonna bury dead bodies separate from other dead bodies for what reason? And so just the ignorance of it. And we know, if you don't know, you know, kids weren't allowed to go to school. Ryan White, a very famous story of young Ryan White, um, who a lot of celebrities and people like Michael Jackson and Elton John um, latched onto his. I don't say latched on, but um, told his story because they weren't even allowing this little boy to go to school, and clearly he didn't get AIDS through any type of demon behavior. Um, and of course, so we know of like Arthur Ashe, died of AIDS and things of that nature. So it was a very sad scene, but it really was setting this. I feel like setting the tone for the season. I hope I feel like definitely set the tone for this episode. Then we see Blanca going to her doctor's office, and her name escapes me now. Ugh, somebody's gonna put it in the comments. I know, but her doctor is played by anyway, y'all know who it is. Can't think of her name right now to save my life, but basically Blanca's T cells are dropping, which of course is not good, which changed her diagnosis from HIV positive to having AIDS, which of course scared the hell out of her, which it should. Like, we understand what that means. And she was like, "Look, there is no cure right now, but you got to hold on. You got to stay alive until we find a cure." And gives she gives Blanca some AZT, which was the first sort of cure. It wasn't even a cure, really. It sort of just helped prolong. And there were a lot of side effects, and there were some people who the AZT, in some cases, made it worse. It's kind of like you take the chemo for the cancer, but for some people the chemo is worse than the cancer, sort of thing. And Blanca was like, "I'm not rich. I don't have any money to pay for AZT." And she explained how there was basically this underground network where the richer, she called them queens, but the richer, men and women who died of AIDS, they would basically donate their medicine to the back into the community for people who, like Blanca, who couldn't afford to buy the AZT. And of course, that's something I never knew, but it makes sense, and it's actually very compassionate. Um, and so Blanca was sort of in denial, and her doctor had to like kind of, slap her straight and say, "Look, you need to." You need to really come to grips with your situation. Like, I'm glad that you are positive and stuff, but you got to be positive and also be proactive. And this is what you got to do. Like, take the AZT until something better comes along. Like, it's not perfect, but it's all we have. Soon we get back to the house. Angel and Poppy's in love with Angel, and it is clear. It is clear that Poppy is in love with Miss Angel. And Angel is modeling, and Poppy is taking her pictures, and Blanca kind of sees her and gets a little idea in her head. Blanca got these grand ideas, but what I love about Blanca is she has these grand ideas, but she's also positive and proactive. She has the idea, but she also finds a way to try to get that idea, bring it to fruition. So we see her at work, and she's, talking about how this song Vogue is just going to do it. Blanca feels like Vogue is going to just take them over the top and just bring ballroom to the mainstream and open up doors for all of them in the community. Um, back on the ballroom scene, Candy and what's my other girl name? They're looking at Blanca like, girl, please, ain't nothing about to change up in here. Pray tell telling her the same thing, like, look, you thinking that Vogue is going to turn something into something, and it ain't going to turn nothing into nothing. We see Miss Angel still winning trophies. She's so gorgeous, honey, winning trophies, but she's also back on the piers making money. And Blanca rolls up on her and like, look, you said you was gonna stop doing this, and she said, look, I don't have no other alternative. What you got for me? And Blanca says, look, I found there's this casting call. They're doing this model search. They're looking for some fresh faces, and that needs to be you. Angel like, please, like, I got so many. It's the picture. Of course, the picture on the casting call is this blonde haired white woman, and Angel was like, "Okay, there's so many things in this picture that I am not." And Blanca being her positive self said, "And that's exactly why you need to go because you're not the mainstream." She said, "And you can vote, and that is what they want now. That is the new thing. You make sure you let them know that you can vote because that's a skill that's gonna bring everybody. Don't have that skill, you know." Um, and then they go to the casting call, and of course, all she has are those Polaroids that Poppy took. But the woman that's doing the casting call sort of sees something in her, and she tells her she can Vogue, and Angel does a little Vogue for her, and she said, "Let me tell you," she said, "I tell you what, I'm gonna give you the name of my photographer. You need to go get some professional pictures made. You give him my name, he'll give you the discount." And bring those back when you move on to the next round. So the woman let Angel go through to the next round, but told her you going to come with something a little bit better. Bring your headshots, and but I can't. She said, but I like it. I like it. Pray tell at a funeral, and Blanca's doctor comes through, and you can tell that they're all friends. They all know each other. They're all friends. They're joking around. Pratel's scared. He's like, we keep going to funerals for these young guys who, they had so much in front of them, so much life, and it's just, I don't know what else I can do. And so she takes him to a meeting. And he was like, I'm not about to go into this meeting with these rich white women who don't know what it's like to struggle. She said, no, you're going to bring your ass in this meeting because if you don't find somewhere to put your pain, it's going to eat you up. And the because again we get into the division within the gay community. So these are gay women, and he was like, and you got the whole gay, trans, straight, not straight, gay men, gay women, trans, and he gets in there and he listens to what they have to say because at first he really sitting there like whatever. Mm. Oh, okay, yeah. And the woman speaking talks about the hypocrisy within the Catholic Church. Now I grew up Catholic, so ain't nothing you can say that I don't understand or I don't know about the Catholic. I mean, when it comes to this kind of thing. And basically in the Catholic Church, basically the only birth control they believe in is abstinence or the rhythm method. And that's only for married people. And what the protest is about is like, look, you telling people not to use condoms and to just abstain is basically killing us. And then you are making what we're doing, making comments that basically, this is what people who, you know, engage in this type of activity, this is what they get. This is God's punishment. And so they're planning a protest against the Catholic Church where they're going to go to where and they said his name. And actually, I really want to say that the guy's name they said is the cardinal that just got deflocked. Is that the right term? But I don't know if it's the same guy or not. But I feel like it's the same name of the guy that just got in a whole lot of trouble for knowing about what was happening to these little boys and covering it up. But don't quote me on that because I ain't sure. But neither here nor there. They planned this protest. And, like I said, at first Praytel is like, whatever. But then he gets caught up in it. And he looks around the room and he sees it's not just white women. It's black men. It's black women. It's, everybody. And he gets into it. And he's like, oh, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do this protest. So back at the house of Evangelista, they're having their Friday night dinner. And we kind of get caught up with the kids, old boy is still on tour, but I'll be sure. We don't know what the hell Poppy doing. His boyfriend is still, he's in dance school and everything, and they're having their Friday night dinner, their family dinner. And I keep wanting to call the people by their real name, and that's what's throwing me off. Shit, Dominique Jackson, but that's her real name. Y'all know who the hell I'm talking about. Damn it. Why her name is escaping me right now? Anyway, she comes in late, and Blanca kind of gives it to her like, look, when family dinner is, you roll in here whenever you feel like it, and that's just not really acceptable. And but she kind of gives her a little bit of pass because she the only one helping pay bills. Blanca's like, look, she kind of get away with some stuff because she paying bills around here and y'all ain't. And so she's Blanca says, look, we're gonna participate in this protest on Sunday. And Angel was like, well, that's when my photo shoot is with the photographer. Praytel was like, reschedule it. And damn it, I'm gonna get her name. Dominique Jackson for right now, because I can't think of her. Oh, it was just on the tip of my tongue. Electra. Thank you. Woo! Electra was like, well, I can't make it. I got stuff to do. She was like, I ain't about to go to jail. Category is not, mugshot. And so her and Praytel sort of get into it. And then, Blanca says, look, whenever I say that the house is going to walk in the category, I don't get no problems. So we walking in a protest on Sunday, and that's not up for discussion. Everybody needs to be there. We're going to do it as a house. So, they kind of like, all right, whatever, fine. But I knew Electra ass wasn't going to show up for that damn protest. So they get to the church, and actually Blanca gets to work, and her boss, Blanca's a manicurist. Her boss says, look, I booked you 2 appointments. And, Blanca's like, I can't stay. I have something to do. And she said, no, you're going to work. That's what you're going to do. She said, I booked you. You're going to work. And she said, I normally don't turn down any money, but I have another commitment. I have a prior commitment that I have to handle. And her boss was like, look, you need to sit down and you need to work because, I'm the only one that'll hire you. And so Blanca was like, look, I told you I got something to do. And she got ready to walk out. And her boss was like, well, why don't you just quit? She said, you know what? You're right. So she ends up quitting her job and, in true Blanca style tells her, and I'll just open up my own shop and I'll take all your customers. How about that? And I'm going to call it Vogue Nails. How about that? And so, her boss lets the whole salon know. She said, well, that's okay because women want other women doing their nails, not men. So of course the whole salon now is looking at, Blanca like, oh shit, really? Because they hadn't clocked her. So they all get to the protest minus Miss Electra, because you knew she wasn't coming, right? And they actually staged the protest. They do what's called a die-in, where they all came into the church, and at a certain point when the signal was given, they all went into the aisle and they laid down as if they were dead. And then some other people were chanting, condoms will kill us or something to that effect. And the police ended up coming. The poor cardinal didn't know what to do. All he could do was sit down and wait for the police, honey. But the police ended up coming, and they all got arrested. But it was a very effective protest. And again, it was a group called Act Up. And I remember there were a lot of groups during this time, definitely protesting. And I know the Catholic Church was definitely a target of a lot of the protests. So over to Miss Angel. She ends up going to her photo shoot after I guess she got bailed out of jail, honey. And the photographer was like, "Well, how many looks are we gonna do?" And she said, "Well, I just," and she looks beautiful too. She said, "Well, I guess we're just gonna do this one look because I can't afford no whole bunch of looks." He said, "That's not how this works." He said, "We booked hair and makeup for the day." Um, and she said, "Well, can I put it on layaway or something?" He said, "I tell you what, we're gonna go ahead and do these pictures, and then you can do something for me for my private collection." And Angel knew then that that wasn't going to be a good thing. But at that point, what was she going to do? So she took the pictures. She looked beautiful. She did about 3 or 4 different looks, honey. And then when it got time to do the private photo shoot, he wanted basically pornographic pictures. He took pictures of her fully naked, had her touching herself, and of course it made her just feel, ugh, right? Um, So back to the ballroom, honey. We have our first category was oh shit, some sort of runway. Hell, I don't remember. But of course, Miss Electra comes through as Marie Antoinette. I think it's supposed to be some sort of like Victorian because Candy and Wilson Face walks and they look like peasants. And Pray Tell gave it to them, honey. They end up throwing the bread at them. But Miss Electra comes through and she looked good now. And her whole little costume was beat and put together, baby, as Marie Antoinette. She even had a guillotine. Pray Tell was like, they really got a guillotine for this bullshit. And he loses it. He really does. He loses it. He was like, so this what the fuck you was doing instead of with us at the protest? When your community needed you, you were more concerned about winning a trophy than you were about standing with your community. Like that's what's more important. You left your house hanging, you left your community hanging. And of course, Electra was giving it back to Pray Tell, like whatever. You know what I mean? Like, why does it matter? So what? Did it change anything? What happened? And so he gets the trophy and throws it at her, and she tells him he better get her another trophy so she can stick it up his ass. And so they end up getting into it. And finally he was like, y'all need to wake up. Like all of this is cool and great, but y'all really need to wake up and pay attention to what's going on in our community because we are dying. And if we don't do something, we're going to be dead and nobody's going to give a damn but us. And so that's why I said you sort of just see the change in Pray Tell as this episode goes along. He doesn't change as a person, but his passion is focused in a different way. You know what I'm saying? And um he ends up leaving. He pulls somebody else up to say, finish calling these categories because I gotta go. I'm gonna lose it. And he ends up leaving and Electra standing in the middle of the floor looking crazy, and the rest of the ballroom looking around like, oh my goodness, like what the hell just happened here, right? So Angel walks in the next category, and the guy who took Pray Tell's places, he's calling the category or whatever, and he keeps making these comments about you guys will never make it to the runway of Paris and Milan, but go ahead and stretch your stuff here tonight. You can win here tonight. You can be here tonight. And Angel is actually walking in that category. And Angel, you can see his words are starting to bother her, and she started to internalize, I'll never be a model. I'll never be a model. And she ends up winning and getting the trophy, but of course she's crying and upset. She walks off the runway. So Poppy goes after her and Blanca go after her. And she tells them how she's feeling about not being able to really be a model. And Poppy is like, you can be whatever you want. He's like, you ain't one of them. You're not them other people. You are gorgeous and you can be a model. Because like I said, Poppy in love with this girl. And Blanca comes out to talk to her, and then she tells them about the pictures, which of course pisses both of them off. Honey, Blanca was like, not on my watch. So Blanca took Poppy, Blanca, and Angel went over to that photographer's office. Poor Angel beat that man until they got them daggone pictures and the negatives. Because she was like, what if he sells those pictures to a porn magazine? Then everybody's gonna clock me forever. Like I'll never be able to pass. Oh, let me rewind. At the photo shoot, the photographer had clocked her. he had seen her at the piers. And so that's how he knew that she was transgender to begin with. And, so they get the pictures and they get the negatives, and Angel takes the pictures back to the next round. And Angel lets that woman know, look, I need this. Like, you just don't know what I went through to get here. I need this. And she makes it to the next round. She makes it to the next round, and she lets, Blanca know, and of course everybody's happy for her and all that good stuff. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, y'all. Oh, okay. Um and everybody's happy for it and everything. So they're having family dinner again, Friday night dinner, and everybody's there. And Miss Electra comes in late again, just nasty. I mean, she's back to the old Electra. She never really she was a little bit more compassionate towards Blanca because Blanca helped her, but she's back to just who she was at the beginning of last season. I mean, she's just nasty. And Blanca's, talking to her, and she's just like, I don't owe you anything, and I don't have to. So what? I don't want to come to this dinner. And what's the big deal? And I mean, she goes off, and Blanca's like, you know what? You ain't even paid your rent this month. She was like, ain't nobody else in here paid rent either. She said, and Blanca said, well, where are you getting all this money from? I mean, where are you getting? Because I mean, she is fur, jewel, hair down. And she said, I don't owe you anything. I don't owe you or anybody else in here an explanation as to what I do, why I do, and how I do it. She said, and basically cussed all of them out and then flipped the table. So Blanca was going to tell her she was out the house. She said, I'm what, out the house? You don't have to tell me. I quit. And she picks up her things and she rolls out. And she ends up going over to Candy and them house, telling them, I'm joining your house and you're welcome. So I said, oh Lord. Oh, and then she told Blanca, you better not show your ass at the ballroom because I'm gonna clean your ass up every time. I said, now what has gotten into Miss Electra? Because I thought we left off on a good note. I mean, last I checked, you was reading everybody for House of Evangelista. Now it's like it's totally flipped. So who knows what's going on with Miss Electra? I'm sure that's something that will evolve over the season, honey. But that was the first episode, and it was really good. Like I said, I definitely see we're moving into um some of the themes of the season. But I thought it was a good first episode. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments, please.